Here we go.
Raiders is back. We're back after what feels like an extended leave. Was it an extended leave? How long have we been gone now?
It's been a minute because you've been all over the world a little bit.
Yeah.
And moving house. A lot of stuff's happened in the interim, but
this has been the craziest and longest month of my entire life. So for everybody watching, since the last time that we spoke, my wife graduated dental school.
Congratulations, Lauren.
Yep. Congratulations, Lauren. So she was in dental school for 4 whole years, and that was why we moved to San Antonio together. So she finally graduated. Our whole, both of our families came down and saw the graduation, and that was a weekend long ordeal. The day after graduation, everyone went home, and my mom stayed behind, and we packed up our entire apartment in one day, loaded it into 2 U-Hauls that my wife and I drove a 20-footer. She drove a 10-footer. We drove those to East Texas, and my mom drove my truck. And then I think her brother drove her car. So this is a big ordeal.
Convoy.
We go to East Texas, and then we have to stop there because right in the middle of our moving process, I got invited to go on Joe Rogan. And
yeah, you did.
Which was totally surreal. And I had absolutely no prep time at all.
Yeah, it was quite quick since you got the invite and then literally had to be on the show. It's like,
yeah, it was.
You had no time to prep.
It was the next week. So I got. Well, I'll tell everybody how it happened. So I had my buddy that lives in Canada. He came down and stayed with me for a week. He's a CrossFit instructor, and there's this big, I don't even know, it's like a CrossFit school or thing that happens in San Antonio. So it just happened to work out. He came and stayed with us, and I was picking him up one afternoon. It was like 5 p.m. And I looked down at my phone, and it said, Joe Rogan followed you. It was on Instagram. And I was like, surely not. Surely this must be
a bot or something.
Exactly. This must be a bot, or it must be some, fan account, like a fan page or something. And so I opened it up, and it said 19 million followers. And I went, no way. Surely he didn't just DM me and ask me to come on his show. And I click messages, and it said, hey man, I loved you on such and such podcast. Would love to have you on my show. And my whole world just stopped. And totally surreal feeling. And then my sister, who manages my social media, she called me immediately after that, and she said, check your social media right now. And so anyway,
this is not a drill. Rogan has messaged you.
So we got my whole family on the phone and told everybody, and everybody was excited, and it was really, really surreal. But yeah, I had no prep time because a day after that, my buddy was leaving and going back. And then the next day or the day after that was Lauren's graduation. So all of this was like back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
This whole month has been. And so we'll dive into the Rogan stuff. But so we're moving up, and then I have to stop. So we drive everything from San Antonio to East Texas. And then the next day, I've got to get in the car and drive back from East Texas back down to just north of San Antonio, where Austin is, go on Rogan. And I didn't want to tell him that I was in the process of moving, and that, I didn't really know how exactly I was going to get there, whatever. So I just told him, yeah, I'm just living in San Antonio. I'll just drive up. But in reality, I had to drive across the state twice to do it. And I didn't want to be like an inconvenience, or, because he invited me, I think partly because he knew I'm just right down the road. And so I got my own hotel, and which I told my podcaster friend, Julian Dory, that I got my own hotel. And he was like, you went on Joe Rogan and bought your own hotel? Good for you.
Polite. That's a very British thing to do. That is overly polite. Really? Yeah, but British people are like, no, don't worry, absolutely. I'll pay for myself. I'll pay for you. Like,
yeah, well, I would say, well, I don't know if how much you call Texas, like Southern Texas is kind of its own thing, but like Southern hospitality, like I think a lot of people, I don't know, I just don't want to be an inconvenience to anybody. I'm blessed that I get to go on the show, so the least I can do is get a hotel room.
It's worth it. It's worth it. What an experience.
So yeah, got our own hotel room, did Rogan, walked out feeling like, I just couldn't believe it. And it was quick too. Like I show up, I'm there for about a couple minutes. I'm signing some stuff. He walks in, all business, like walks up, shakes my hand, gives me a hug, says, "How are you doing?" He's like, "Hey," he's like, "Lay your stuff over here. You need the bathroom." And then he's dealing with some business stuff, and he walks over to me. He's like, "All right, you ready? Let's go." So we walk in, sit down, starts.
Done.
There's no talking beforehand, not really. And
Yeah.
then once he starts filming, you're just going. And so we went for 3 hours, and then it was like, as soon as it was done, he was back to like businessman tornado mode. Didn't even see him again, and I was out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess that's the formula because it's like get the gold on the camera, get the
Mhm.
intro, get the authentic introductions, get the authentic conversation.
Yeah.
It is a bit weird when you have a conversation and then you have like another fake. I can get his process,
Yeah,
but
yeah. It was like he was actually meeting me on camera.
yeah,
Yeah.
making it
Yeah.
really like for real. And do you get any breaks or does it all 3 hours straight?
So I purposely did not drink that much water beforehand because it's like, the needing to pee usually sets in. So say if it's 3 hours, needing to pee
Yeah,
sets in around hour 2.
yeah,
And so I don't, you don't want to go into hour 2 like holding it. And then
hmm
you don't want to be like, "Hey, can we take a pee break?" Because you just killed all the momentum of the
yeah, yeah. Because
conversation.
you get
So
you go on a journey.
yeah, and so I purposely didn't drink that much before I went in so that I wouldn't have to. So no, we didn't take any breaks. We just went 3 hours straight.
You appeared, considering it was your first time, and you're like one of the youngest people to ever be on Rogan.
Oh,
Um,
oh my gosh.
yeah, you're like the third youngest ever, right?
Yeah,
Or
I
something
forgot about that. Yeah, I'm the third youngest person to ever go on Joe Rogan,
ever,
which is
and
crazy.
it's just crazy. But you seemed so chill. And so, like, I know that if I went on Rogan, I would be so overexcited. I would start talking 100 miles an hour. I wouldn't finish my sentence. I would forget everything I ever knew about ancient history ever. And yeah, you just look really chill. And you were
Oh,
coming across.
you would kill it. You would crush it. I know you would. It's so I went into the conversation. I actually sort of premeditated it. Um, the thing about like me being, yeah, that's freaking crazy. Being like the third youngest person, it's somewhere in there. It's in like the lower five, and I went into the conversation like for the last 3 or 4 years that I've been doing this, being the youngest person in this space, um, you know, trying to come in with like a lot of humility and I'm very thankful, such and such person gave me the opportunity to be on your show, like, and I think for a long time I was kind of like the guy with the young kid with a good head on my shoulders, bright future, blah blah blah. And I knew that going into the podcast, I had worked a long time and put in a lot of work to have the opportunity to be able to go on Rogan. And I guess like speaking candidly, I guess I always knew it would happen. I didn't think it would happen so quickly. Like I had thought maybe 3 or 4 years from now, a little bit older, more experienced, I'll have more to say and then I'll go. And then the opportunity gets thrusted on me like 3 or 4 years before I thought it would happen. But I knew that I wanted to go in just being like, uh, as though I should be having this conversation
Yeah,
with
just
Joe,
having a chat. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm not going in as though Joe is reaching down and helping me and picking me up. It's I'm genuinely interested in talking to him just as much as he's interested in talking to me, and I should be having this conversation with him.
Yeah.
And so I went in like I went in. I had made that decision that at this point I wasn't going to come and present myself as though I'm this young person or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was just completely myself.
Oh, also, you just to say, like the timing was crazy because you were literally like the week after Sacsayhuaman, and that was what was
Yeah,
it,
wasn't
about
it?
a week?
Mhm.
And he went on, and I haven't watched all of Zai's. I've seen little clips and highlights, but I think his was pretty wild, and yeah, it was just what a contrast that you got to sort of go back to back with Zahi. So
I know. Yeah, he was. I don't know how many people were in between us. Maybe like 2 other episodes, but we were back to back for ancient civilizations episodes. Like I
Nice.
followed him up in that conversation. But we only talked about Zahi, I don't know, maybe just like in the first couple of minutes or so. Yeah, it was crazy. I just, it was a blur, and I can't even believe that it happened. And now we're 3 weeks afterwards, and it's like life just continues on as normal.
Yeah.
I had to drive the next day. Well, okay, so I didn't sleep at all that night.
Just wired. What people
Yeah,
don't know is you were totally drunk the whole Rogan show.
yeah.
That's why you were so cool.
Yeah. And so yeah, I didn't sleep at all that night. I slept for probably about 20 minutes.
Whoa.
Legitimately, I slept 20 minutes that night. And so the next day we were supposed to drive U-Hauls across the country. I just couldn't do it. So we hung out one more day at my in-laws, and then the next day we drove our U-Hauls from Texas to Georgia, and then the next day we drove them from Georgia up to our new house, and we in North Carolina, and we unloaded everything, and then my dad came and we unloaded everything, and it's been crazy. So we had 2 or 3 days to get everything unloaded, and then my wife and I, Lauren, we flew down to Peru, and we spent a couple weeks in Peru, almost a couple weeks. And so it's just been,
you guys' story.
that was all 1 month.
I was watching both of you guys' stories, fully jealous because it looked beautiful. Peru looked stunning, and
I can't believe you haven't been.
I haven't been. No, I've landed in Chile. I landed in Santiago Airport to do the Easter Island transfer. That's the only bit of like South America
That's right.
that I've. No,
that was traumatic.
It was traumatic. I haven't done any of South America. It's on the list. I really want to do. I want to do Petra, Jordan, and I want to do Montana Wall. So I think it's like Petra, Jordan, Montana Wall, and then Peru is like my next 3.
Well, maybe we do Raiders in Egypt, and we followed up with Raiders in Peru.
Yeah. Well, now you've done the recce, so
that would be cool. Yeah. So this was my 4th time to Machu Picchu this trip, so I'm very familiar with.
So you can just lead the tour. That'll be great. I'll just take the photos.
Well, it might be kind of cool. Like, come along and experience Peru for the first time with Johanna.
And I want to, be brand new with me. You can. I'm so excited to see it though, because Peru is such a head scratcher, because you can clearly see. I like looking at ancient sites and picking out the levels, like the onion layers of the different styles of architecture, the different aesthetics that I think are all are in there. And I can see it in Egypt. It's all muddled together like a soup. But it's a bit clearer in Peru because it is physically layered, and you've got these massive bottom megaliths, and then you've got like the Inca stuff, and then you've got the later, and it's just like to me it's just so clear that there's very clearly been adaptations and generations of repair work and things and regeneration projects, it's crazy.
Peru is seriously the weirdest place I've ever been. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, man, there's so much here to study. Like the diversity of the different things that you could go see in Peru. Like if we just throwing this out there, if we do a Raiders in Peru, which I think is a fairly high possibility. We're definitely going to do the Sacred Valley, which is where you start in Cusco, you go to Ollantaytambo, Pisac, and Machu Picchu. But if we can squeeze it in, we should go out to Paracas and Nazca and get everybody up in those propeller planes, and they do the figure eights over the Nazca lines, and you've got elongated skulls. You've got these weird. Have you seen these alien-looking mummies that are supposedly being dug up from the ground in Peru?
The little dudes that are like this big?
Well, there are some that are full size, like 5'5" people now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's I think there's 7 of these mummies that are being brought out, and they're tridactyl, so they've got these. Yeah. They've got 3 fingers, which sounds totally bonkers.
Oh yes, no, I've seen the 3-fingered mummy. So that's the thing about Peru and things, is because there's almost such weird stuff that people just automatically they go, well, it just has to be fake because there's no way. It's too weird to be even a variation of creature or humanoid, but the skulls, I can't believe that we have fetus skulls that are elongated. There is no way that you can
Yep.
bind a fetus. Like it's already inside you, inside. So I'm like, why is that not being like the forefront of so many studies, that we had these fetus humans that had these elongated skulls, or the skulls that have the clear, like they're missing like the entire, that, you know, we've got like the trifold
Mhm,
in our
mhm.
skulls, and they're like missing a whole one. And it is very clearly because you've got large percentage of the Peru skulls are like bound, because people were obviously imitating these other people that
Yeah.
had long. And it just baffles me that it exists and everyone is in kind of agreement, like, yeah, it's natural, but like everyone's just kind of chill about it and like, yeah, we don't really know. I'm like, what?
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's such a I don't know, there's such a hesitance to anything like in the archaeological space, there's such a hesitance to anything that's sensational.
Hmm.
That sounds like it's a little too far out there that I honestly th I honestly I don't know if there's, like, actual gatekeepers out there that are stopping these things from being studied. I think people are just scared to study them because if you start going down that route, you can say some crazy stuff, or you can start kind of, I say
Yeah.
crazy, but things that are very sensational as compared to what the rest of the realm studies. And so if you go down that route, I don't know, something bad could happen to your archaeological career, or you could make yourself look bad. Like they're just scared to dive into these things. Um, Now, I will say I think that the little tiny ones are pretty suspicious. I can't say too much, but I've seen I've seen some stuff about them. I don't know what I can say and what I can't say.
Mhm.
You and I can talk off camera about it, but um, there are some of them that are a little weird, like that'll have some eggs inside of them. They X-rayed them and there's eggs inside, and that's
Yeah.
odd to me. But the larger ones, the ones that are human sized, that are actually in the curled, like fetal position, like
Hmm.
so many people in the ancient world, in prehistoric times are being buried. Those are very compelling to me. Now I'll say what I think the most realistic thing I can think of, because people have been studying these mummies for 8 years. Scientists have been going down to Peru and studying these mummies for 8 years now. And as far as I can tell, there hasn't been like a definitive study that's definitively proved that the large ones are a hoax. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. The thing I wonder is, what if it's not just an ancient Frankenstein project where, you can see that people in Peru and people all across, well, I should say South America, all across the Americas are into skull binding. They're into deformities. They're fascinated by these things. Like I think you and I have talked about on the show, how the Olmecs were into, they may have had ectodermal dysplasia where they were purposely breeding people with these fangs, but
Oh yeah.
they didn't have learning disabilities. And then when the Spaniards got to Montezuma's palace in the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, up inside the palace were all these weird deformed people, like almost like creatures that the Spaniards hadn't seen before, but
Deified,
they were being
not vilified.
deified. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they were being lavished, and they were, held in high regard. They weren't outcasts like maybe the way the Greeks or the Romans would to,
Hmm.
strange deformed people. And
Yeah.
so my curiosity here is, what if this is just an ancient Frankenstein project that we're seeing ancient people? I don't know if
Collect.
they're
Yeah, you're
I don't know
right.
if they're
Collecting.
breeding or if they're quite literally just creating something new.
Yeah.
And maybe it was never even alive. I don't know. But when I if these mummies were to come out of if they were to come out of Egypt, I would be even more kind of, I don't know about that. But the fact that they come out of Peru is just the weirdest place I've ever been. And so it's like, oh yeah, well, of course these things would pop up here because it's such a freaking weird place. So one of the things I'm fascinated with, so like you and I were talking, no spoilers, but I know you're going down the Titanic rabbit holes right now.
Yeah.
The rabbit hole that I am deep, deep down right now is the Nazca lines. And I have always known that they're so strange. I mean, they really are so strange. These mile-long, perfectly straight lines in the desert, thousands of them that all kind of cross over each other, and sometimes there's they make a spiral, or they make.
Mhm.
Have you ever seen the one that's like the little alien guy where he's waving and he's got the two big eyes and looks like he's got a
Yeah.
circular face?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, wow.
it is probably the most peculiar thing that I think any ancient people ever did was these Nazca lines. And so I got a book. I ordered this book that's like a well, it's a PhD, and he's just writing down everything he's ever learned about the Nazca in this book. And I think it's called The Nazca People. And so I read the whole chapter last night on the Nazca lines. And by the end of the chapter, the total explanation is, and this isn't a knock on him. I think it's just so weird that we cannot explain this.
Mhm.
His final conclusion on the Nazca lines was that they must have been sacred processional lines that were walked. That you started at one end and you
Mhm.
walked down to the other end,
So you
and there
walk
was
the shape of a alien waving.
exactly right. Like that was the thing is okay, maybe I understand it if they're all just straight lines and you're supposed to walk it, and maybe because he was talking about how some of them point towards water reservoirs, some of them point towards rivers, but they all kind of point in a bunch of different crazy directions. And he was like,
No, they're designed to be seen from above. Like,
they must be.
because
And
how close can you get to them on the ground? What can you see from ground level? Or can you not go that close?
you can Well, something just happened recently where they closed parts of it, but I've seen photos of
Mm.
people walking on the lines, and all it is like, okay, there's rocks everywhere, and it's just where the rocks are cleared and pushed away. So it's just a line in the ground, and the ground underneath it, it's like white sand. So
Wow.
that white sand really pops off of
Yeah.
the ground, like, or off of the volcanic rock above
So
it.
it's super low tech, basically. It's just like rocks and sand, but
Physically, it's super low tech, yeah.
super low tech, but then it becomes crazy because when you go to a great height, like how do you even check that you've got, like the eyes correct, or like how do you have to be in the air.
You would have to be in the air, or you have to have a ridiculous amount of planning. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
sophistication is in the planning. And so the so yeah, what he was kind of saying was that he thinks that they would walk the geoglyphs, or the images. So okay, the famous monkey with the spiraled tail. I'm sure you've seen this guy before.
Mhm.
Um, they would say that they would, or he was saying that maybe they would walk the glyph to evoke the essence or the power of a deified version of the monkey. I'm just like, man, I get it. I get it. It's impossible to explain what these things are. Nobody actually knows. But the explanations that are put out sound really silly. Like, I don't know what the actual explanation is. Um, but that explanation sounds very silly. The idea that, this is clearly, in nowhere in this chapter did I find anything about these are images that are made to be seen from the sky, clearly. Um, I think that's what they are. Whether or not the Nazca are actually able to get in the sky, I mean, that I don't know. I guess I inherently doubt that they're able to actually get in the sky, but clearly these are images that are meant to be projected up towards like the heavens, you know?
Something. Or
So
but even if they, were mirroring things that they saw in the sky and like marking it out, it's still very weird because maybe like shapes and constellations and things aligning for sure, but like a full-on monkey with a tail and eyes and
mhm.
like that's a very weird image to be getting from mirroring what
There's so
above.
much. There's like little families of these weird tridactyl beings. So um, all over Nazca clothing, textiles,
Mm,
blankets, whatever. You can see these little tridactyl beings that all have three fingers, which is just interesting because that's these mummies have these three fingers, and but you can also see these glyphs in the mountainsides out in Nazca, and there's like little families of these tridactyl beings carved into the mountainside, so it's not all just flat. Well,
Right. Repeated
clearly,
imagery. Okay.
clearly, it's meant to be seen. Maybe not if meant to be seen from the sky. It's meant to be projected to the sky. It's meant to
Yeah.
be huge, and it's projecting out into the heavens. So I don't know. I just find I'm just deep down the rabbit hole of Peru right now, and
Oh,
there's so
Nazca.
much out there that
Yeah.
needs to be studied. And I think that, you know, looking for evidence of an ancient lost civilization, like South America is just there. It's ripe for the
Layered.
picking. There's so much there.
So, question, was it very busy? Was it like Egypt level busy, or was it a little bit
Oh
more,
heck no. No, 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 no,
no,
no.
more chill, more space to
Trust
ruminate?
me, you you will love Peru. It's the experience of being there as compared to Egypt, far superior. Far superior. You know,
Okay.
like okay, of the things I love about Peru, I would actually lower the archaeological sites down. That's how much I like this place. The let's just say the scenic views and the weather is immaculate. You're standing up there in the mountains, crisp, cold air. Takes a bit to adjust to the elevation, like a day or so. Um, and it's just beautiful. And the people are so nice. Here's something that I realized while I was there.
Mm.
You've traveled quite a bit, and when you meet people, they're meeting a tourist, they put on a nice face, they're being really, really polite to you, and you're like, oh wow, these people are so nice. And then you walk around their country, and all of their domestic, like, street animals are skittish and starving and scared of you. And so many of the dogs, like, whether it's in Egypt or it's Cambodia or wherever I've been,
Mm.
the dogs have never experienced somebody loving on them before. They've never experienced, like, being held and being petted.
Yeah.
Um, all the street animals are scared of you, and you kind of like get the sense, I wonder what happens when a tourist isn't around. How are these people actually behaving? It can be the same way in Mexico. All of the Maya people love their dogs. You go to like a Maya home, and it's just a big, like, oval hut, but there's
Mhm.
20 dogs, and all the dogs sleep inside the hut on the floor, and they're all well fed. But you go to Peru, and there's street dogs everywhere, and they're all big, fat, happy dogs. And if you go, come here, come here, they'll come right up against you, and they'll lean on you and put their butt on you. They want to be petted. Like, the Peruvian people are genuinely good people
Yeah.
that even take care of the animals on the street. I didn't see one starving animal. You
If
go
you
around.
take care of animals, it's a really good marker as your, like, integrity as a human, I think. So,
Well, it's kind of
but
one of those
yeah.
things. Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, when you meet people who say, "Oh, I would never have a pet," or people who would never have pets, it's always a red flag to me. Like,
Yeah.
you're not a shepherd of the world. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
clearly you care a lot about yourself.
Look after the animals.
Yeah,
Do you know who had really good dog looking after? There was a lot of stray dogs on Easter Island, but again, same thing. They were very friendly. They weren't scared of coming up to you.
yeah,
The dogs were coming into the pizza restaurant. I was just giving them like all the pizza. And but yeah, they seem to be fed by the locals and have their eyes on them, and they seem to be not like skinny and
yeah.
going through the rubbish. They were so yeah, Easter Island also had a very nice be nice to dogs from what I saw.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I just and the people at Easter Island, Polynesian, it's they share a lot of cultural similarities with people in Chile and Peru,
Yeah.
and the Peruvians are
And
just
DNA, literally.
and DNA literally. Um,
Literally.
so it was such a good marker of how nice and polite
Nice.
people in the locals in Peru really are, and it's more than just customer service. It's like true hospitality. They are just so nice. Lauren left her sunglasses on a table in one of the restaurants that we were at, and the guy saw them and ran like 200 feet out of the restaurant uphill to come bring them back
Aw,
to her. He didn't have to do that. And
cute.
I can't think of any country where somebody would do that I've traveled in.
Not in England. They'd be
Oh
gone.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Not in the States either. And Yeah, just a really amazing place. The food, oh my god.
Was the food good?
It's by
Yeah.
far it is so affordable and so much better for you than American food. The
Mhm.
last night, Lauren and I ate at this, steakhouse where they bring the steak out to you on this cook or on this, like, stone, and, it's homemade tortillas that you break apart, and there's homemade guacamole, and it was just
Mm,
oh my gosh, it was like
fresh.
yeah, it was so nice that Lauren and I are like, "We shouldn't be here," you know?
We
We
should
don't
move
eat
to
it
Peru. What
yeah,
are we doing?
we don't eat at fancy steakhouses in the States. It's too expensive, and the
Yeah.
steak you get looks like it's fit for a cat, and, and then you leave and you need to go get, McDonald's to fill yourself up again. It's just a waste of your money, and, so but, Peru is amazing, the people are amazing, the food is amazing, and then the archaeological sites are amazing, like,
Yeah.
you walking around Cusco. I just did a video on this on my channel for anyone who has or hasn't watched it. Uh, all around modern Cusco, once you know what to look for, you realize that the modern day Spanish colonial city is just built into the ancient city. So sometimes, you have these megalithic stones that are at the base of every Spanish building, and you realize that all the streets are just the original ancient streets. It's just the ancient city or the modern city is just literally plugged into the foundation of the ancient city. And so you could walk around forever and you would constantly find the ancient stonework there. Um,
Like the KFC that had Inca walls?
yeah, well, okay, so I was wrong about that.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Those are Inca or South American stones that were cut apart and then reassembled into the
Okay.
KFC. Yeah,
Re
so
yeah, reassembled.
reassembled to a less substantial degree, much less substantial. Now that I filmed that maybe a year ago, and I didn't realize it because you kind of have to look at the stonework a lot, and there's a lot of different types of stonework in
I
Peru.
I did think they looked very if they were original, someone had come along and definitely, like, polished them down and smoothed them out because
Yeah,
they were very flat and uniform. But that happens it's interesting that that happens with that recycling thing because that happens in Egypt as well, and that's why it's so confusing when you're dating sites and being absolutely sure, about sites because there's humans have always done that. They build on top of older sites and then they reuse blocks,
yeah,
repurpose it, take a chunk off that and put that on there. And so, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, the KFC, that's that. And then Sacsayhuaman. I can't wait for you to see this. That is the
That's the big
strange.
boys. The big boys, the
You,
big.
yeah. So you go to Egypt, and all the sites you go to, you I don't know, they have at least at the very least a sense of familiarity. Like it's a a quadratic structure where you have four different sides to it,
Mhm.
and you can tell, okay, this is a room, like let's say the Osirion. Nobody really knows what the Osirion was or what it was used for. There's all kinds of stuff from the hole in the middle was meant to hold the Ark of the Covenant to, well, it was the sacred burial of the god Osiris, and whatever. But you get a sense of like, okay, something's happening in this room, but we don't really know what's happening in this room. There's something important going on here, but we don't understand it. At Sacsayhuaman, there's literally nothing familiar about that site at all.
Mm.
This might be a good moment to pull up
Yeah, show some images.
show some images here.
Is that
Um,
is would you say Sacsayhuaman is that your kind of favorite mystery site? The
mm,
biggest sort of head scratch, like what is this?
yeah, it's definitely the weirdest site that you'll see in Peru, but not even close to my favorite, I would say.
Okay, all right,
Um,
save that one then. But let's have a look at
all right, so
the
let's
Sacsay wall.
screen. All right.
Let's have a look here.
Can you
Oh,
see
yeah.
now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gosh, people are
So,
so tiny.
oh yeah, it's amazing. So this is only about half the wall that you're seeing here.
Mhm.
Um, and only one small piece of the total archaeological site. Um, so you have these right angles that kind of jut out on
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
top and then on the bottom. Now, when the Spaniards arrived, I forget which emperor it was. I don't think it was Atahualpa. It may have been Atahualpa's half brother, but they chased one of the emperors in the Inca army up on top of this hill. And before the emperor could be captured and killed, he threw himself off the top of it and killed himself. Maybe on the backside or maybe over one of these walls here. Although I don't know how easily you would die if you jumped over. I
I know, I
think,
was like, "That
I
looks
think,
more painful than deathly," but,
yeah, exactly. I think you would survive, but
you
your
went
life
head
may,
first.
yeah, your life may never be the same after you've thrown yourself over. Um, but so they refer to this as a fortress. They say that Sacsayhuaman, this was a military fortress, where the entire city could flee up to the top of it. And okay, so like you could flee up above this wall right here, and you
Mhm.
could have a last stand in case Cusco was ever invaded by other Peruvians. I guess it doesn't sound like a crazy explanation, but it's I feel like there are so many other things that they could have done other than make this gigantic wall with some of the largest man-made stones in the entire world and go to
Yeah.
the length that they did. You could have okay, so like the fortress at Ollantaytambo, which we could talk about today or another time, they just took this really steep side of the mountain and they just cut away one part of the mountain and made a staircase that goes up. So it's like impossible to penetrate. Like you would
Mhm.
have done something that's a really narrow area that's impossible to penetrate rather than this vast open area that you have to make these giant walls around. And these walls don't really look like they're something that you couldn't get over if you were absolutely determined to do that. Um,
Do
so
you
I
think if this was a fortress for, for, like, security, is that why they did such big stones at the bottom? Because the little stones, you can grapple in, and
mhm,
you could kind of, if you were gonna climb and go over a wall, it makes more sense in my mind. It's like it's harder to try and get any kind of grip or anything, and the stone is too hard to just wedge in. You'd have to wedge in between stones. So it makes sense from a defense point of view that your bottom line is like
yeah.
massive.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. I guess the only thing is the fortress at Ollantaytambo. Like when you look at it, it's very clearly a fortress. It's this tiny little narrow staircase that
Hmm.
goes up into the side of a mountain, and there's a building up there on top of it, or a couple large buildings, and that's it. But here you have this vast open area and I just don't know. I just don't know if I'm convinced by the fortress argument. I get why people say it, and I get that it was used as a fortress on its last day. Um, but there's just so much at Sacsayhuaman that's so strange. Okay,
And traditionally, sorry, just traditionally, I mean, like when I mean traditionally, I mean, like academically, they are saying that this is all Inca, right?
oh yeah, 100%. I mean,
Like, right? Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, okay, so maybe
Hmm.
that's not entirely true. When you This was the first time that I had heard. So when you're in Peru, with you travel around at least a lot of times with a Peruvian tour guide or an archaeologist who's also, a licensed tour guide to take you around. Um, and so you can ask them lots of different questions. And so some are better than others, some are more knowledgeable than others. And so we had a really great archaeologist that we were with. Her name was Esther, and I asked her, I said, are the Inca the first people to inhabit Cusco, or how old is it? And she goes, oh no, 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 no. She's like, we have evidence right here. We were standing in the middle of the Coricancha, which is the temple to the sun god, like right in the middle of Cusco. And
Hmm.
she was like, right below our feet, there's evidence that goes back over 10,000 years of habitation right here in Cusco. And I was like, oh, okay. So where did the Inca come from? And she was like, well, we don't really know exactly where the Inca came from. They arrived in Cusco sometime within the last couple thousand years, and then they they made this their home. They conquered the people who were here. And she was like, but right here at the Coricancha, this was a site going back 10,000 years. And I was like, wow, really? And, blew my mind. And so, but as far as the evidence of what we have, like, there's just, well, you have to think like how much evidence survives colonialism? Like almost none of ancient Cusco survived the Spanish coming and tearing
Bloody
everything apart.
Spanish coming in, messing it all up for us.
Yeah, so we have very, very little evidence of a lot of stuff in Peru. Like a lot of cultures are just completely erased.
Yeah.
When you think about the Inca, when you think about the Maya, you imagine someday I'll have to bring you down to Mexico and we can go through the Maya world because it's fascinating. But you have these stelae, kind of like you do in Peru, but they're made out of limestone. And you see these figures of these strong warrior god kings. You get this iconic imagery. In the Olmec world, you have the iconic imagery of either the colossal heads or the were-jaguars. In Egypt, we all know what the iconic imagery is in Egypt. It's the stone, pharaonic sarcophagi or the pharaonic statues. You have this image of who the people are that were living there. In the Inca world, we have no image of who these people were because all of their iconography was hammered into plates of gold, and all of it was sent back to Spain. All of it was sent back to Spain. And so, the entire identity of who the Inca people were and all the things that were important to them are just gone. And it's like that across so much of South America. And so when you're looking for evidence for a lost civilization or evidence of a civilization that had been there since before the Inca, well, man, you're getting down to like, really thin pieces of evidence that haven't been tampered with. And that's kind of the thing at Machu Picchu. We know that there were people living at Machu Picchu thousands of years before the Inca were ever there. They found a little bit of evidence for it. There's actually cave art that goes back over, it's like 10,000 BC. It's either 10,000 years ago or it's 10,000 BC. There are caves at Machu Picchu up on top of the mountain. So not the photo that you see, like the photo that you see where there's the, let's go over a minute.
Get Machu Picchu up.
All right.
So there's basically been people everywhere since forever.
No, it's not that bad. It's not even close to being. It's not even close to being as bad as Egypt. This is about right. You see that little group of people that are right there?
No. Oh yeah. Oh yes, they're tiny.
That's about what it's like. And look at the giant stones behind them too. And look at the giant stones that are right next to me on the left. So all the photos I'm showing, I took these photos.
Those mountains are amazing.
Oh, it's totally spectacular. So
yeah,
the mountain that you see up to the top of the left that you see in all the iconic photos, that's Huayna Picchu. Machu Picchu is the mountain I'm standing on, and it actually has a peak that goes up behind where I'm standing. Now, up on top of Machu Picchu, on the peak of it, which nobody ever sees in a photo, it's really odd. Up there, they found caves that are at least 10,000 years old with rock art and, arrowheads and like stone tools and stuff, little campsites laying around in them. But people have been living up here for a really, 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 really insanely long time. And the reason that people ever started going up on top of Machu Picchu, my guess is sometime well over, 10, maybe 10 or 20,000 years ago, you have people walking in the valleys between the mountains, and these valleys in the Andean Amazon. So this is the Amazon. When you go to Machu Picchu, you've been to the Amazon. When you're walking around, when it rains, that whole ravine or that valley can flood really, really quickly. And it's only from modern intervention, like building dams and stuff, that it doesn't. But ancient people who are hunting or exploring or doing what they're doing out in this area of the world, they need to get up out of that valley. And so what makes me think the only reason there's a city up on top of this mountain in the middle of nowhere is because I would bet a lot of money on this, that ancient people 10, 20,000 years ago are going through this area and they hear water falling from one of the mountainsides. And from Machu Picchu, if when you're walking down the mountain or walking up it, if you listen closely, you'll hear water spilling off the mountainside. And if you follow that water, if ancient people hear that and they follow that water all the way up the mountaintop, it takes you directly to the top of Machu Picchu, where there's a natural spring spilling out of the mountainside. And so they all of a sudden they find themselves, who knows, like way back in primordial history. I mean, I can't even describe how long ago and how distant this must have been. The first people to get up there, and they realize, oh, this is an impenetrable place that no one will ever find us, and we're perfectly safe up here.
And you've got water, the one thing you need.
And you've got water. So what's amazing is 60% of the foundation of Machu Picchu, so below that grass you're looking at, 60% of the megalithic construction, and these are giant blocks. It's not just rubble that's being packed into the ground. You can't see all the megaliths that are in there because 60% of the construction at Machu Picchu is inside its foundation. And inside that foundation, you have man-made tunnels, obviously man-made, but you have tunnels that are meant to be walked in that have never been opened today. I think 11 or 12 years ago, they found evidence that there were tunnels that can be accessed and walked around through inside the foundation, and they've never opened it up. They're like waiting. The guy who, from what I heard, is the guy that discovered it was not an archaeologist. He was something else. I can't remember. And he brought it to attention. And then when the archaeologists went in and they scanned it, they found out that there really was a room behind this like wall that he suspected there would be a room behind. And so what they think is happening is that they're waiting until this guy dies so that a Peruvian archaeologist can go in and make the discovery. So yeah, it's pretty effed up. So anyways, the other tunnels, actually the vast majority of the tunnels that are beneath Machu Picchu are about this big, and they're water canals, they're aqueducts. And so they changed the direction of the spring spilling off the top of the mountain to actually go back towards where they built the city. And so as you're walking through Machu Picchu, there's water spilling out of all these fountains everywhere. So everyone in the city had access to the water that's spilling out from on top of the mountain. So it's crazy. And that's why crazy. Machu Picchu is by far my favorite place, or my favorite archaeological site in Peru. There's so much there. And, you have all the megalithic construction, which at Machu Picchu, by the way, every single stone is made of granite. Every single stone at Machu Picchu. Even the small little rubble you see, because the entire mountain is granite. There's nothing else. There's nothing else that's there. And so even whether it's the rubble or it's the little cellular stones or it's the huge megaliths, it's all solid granite. And so you have the highest level of, this precise megalithic construction that you find in Peru. You have the highest level of it found on top of Machu Picchu, out of the highest stone, or out of the hardest stone that these South Americans are using. Like when you're in Cusco, it's andesite, which is a little bit harder than basalt, but it's still a volcanic stone that's not quite as hard as granite. But at Machu Picchu, it's 100% granite. So it's amazing. I can't describe what it's like to stand at Machu Picchu. You'll just have to wait until we're standing there. And I'm sure that some of the people watching right now are going to be there with us, but there's nothing else like it. Even standing at the base of the Great Pyramids, the experience of it is not like standing at Machu Picchu.
Really? You think Machu Picchu tops the Giza plateau?
Full on experience, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. As far as the total experience of being there. Yeah. As far as the total experience of being there and taking it all in, Machu Picchu is so much more private, so much more intimate. You are quite literally in the middle of nowhere. Like, people don't realize how what the heck's happening to my camera? People don't realize how hard it is to get to Machu Picchu.
How do you get there?
Yeah, okay. So it's not just like you can
through a portal.
Basically. It's not just like you can hop on I can't just all right. So I'm in the US. If I wanted to go to Belize, that's no problem. If I wanted to go see Chichen Itza, no problem. I can be in Merida in 6 hours, and 1 hour after that, I could be at Chichen Itza. No big deal. If I wanted to go to Teotihuacan, I could take one flight from Charlotte to Mexico City and an hour later be at Teotihuacan. If I wanted to go to Egypt, I got to take a flight from Charlotte to New York. I could go from New York straight to Cairo. An hour later, I could be at the pyramids. To get to Machu Picchu, I would have to go from Charlotte to Miami to Lima, Peru, then to Cusco. So, we're already like almost a day's worth of traveling there. Then you get to Cusco. Then you got to take almost a 3-hour ride out to a little place called through Urubamba. Like, so you descend down, like while you're driving, you'll do these switchbacks, and you're descending down like this 2,000-foot cliff to get inside the sacred valley. And it's these two mountainsides that open up, and you're just all of a sudden you're inside this sacred valley. And so you're in this town called Urubamba, and you go through Urubamba for another hour or so, driving between these huge mountainsides and the terraces, these ancient farms, from the ground all the way up to the sky, from one mountainside all the way to the other, line this entire valley. And so you go for, you're driving for another hour, you end up at Ollantaytambo. At Ollantaytambo, you get on a train, and then you take that train for about 2 hours all the way out to Aguas Calientes, which is this small town that's at the bottom of the mountain at Machu Picchu. Then you get there, and you can either walk up the entire mountain of Machu Picchu, or you can take this bus that goes up like 4,000 feet on these switchbacks. And then you're at Machu Picchu.
So and then you get a donkey, and then you
yeah. So
I get really badly travel sick now. It's just something that's happened to me as I'm getting older, and I get travel sick in a car if I'm not driving, and I get travel sick on an airplane. So this is going to be fun to get all the way out to Machu Picchu.
Yeah. Well, it helps to be medicated while you're doing it. Like,
oh yeah, you'll have to I'll just pay someone to knock me out and drag me up.
Yeah, Peru can be tough on your body. Like, so Lauren and I did our last day in Machu Picchu. You need to do like 2 days in case you get rained on, and you want to spend 2 days at Machu Picchu anyways. So we hiked up Huayna Picchu, which is the peak up behind Machu Picchu, and then we hiked all the way back down into the city, and then we hiked from the city down the entire mountainside, which is, 3,000 feet down. And then we walked for maybe an hour to get back to the town that's nearby. Well, when you're up in Machu Picchu, there's no bathrooms. So if you have to pee, you have to leave the park and come back. And so we purposely were a little bit dehydrated so we wouldn't have to use the bathroom. Worst mistake ever. The next day I was completely wiped out. Like,
yeah,
you need that hydration when you're up at that elevation to keep your body like fueled. And so it destroyed me, and it ruined my sinuses. Like, I got all dried up and I couldn't breathe, and I'm still dealing with it right now. That's why I'm a little nasally and kind of.
So you gotta stay hydrated, folks, and you gotta be prepared to take 99 hours of buses and planes, but it's worth it.
Oh my gosh!
When you
can you imagine what your journey out there is going to be like?
Oh no, don't. I already don't. I haven't got on a plane since Easter Island. I've been
traumatized. You've already experienced it, but it was worse doing that. So I guess you saved yourself a little bit of time. It's not as hard to get to Cusco as it is to Easter Island.
Yeah, I think I could probably get to Cusco, but then but it'll be worth it for the
How do you do with high elevation? Have you ever been somewhere with really high elevation?
No, we don't have like super high elevation in England that I've been to.
What is it? What is the elevation in London?
Oh, we're at minus. So London is actually in a bowl. It's in a we're lower down. So we have to have we're like a flood risk basically, and we have a thing called the Thames water barrier, which is this basically like a kind of dam, floodgates, which protects London from flooding, because if it flooded, we'd all drown. We're in a dip in London. You get some high points in London, but then the high points are basically sea level, ground level. So Yeah, it was not very high here. We have high. We have like if you go up to Scotland and Wales, yeah, you can have pretty high, but nothing that you would need help with. Or I've climbed some
Yeah,
mountains in England, but I don't know. I don't know what happens to me when I go to high elevation.
Well, that's the thing. Everyone finds out as soon as you get there. I mean, as soon as you get off the plane, you feel what the impact of high elevation is going to do to you. Some
Right.
people, one poor girl that came with us, she was out for 2 days, like just in her room, in
Yeah,
bed, like
I've
just
heard
not,
that.
just feeling nauseated for 2 days. For me, it's about. It takes me, I don't know, maybe like half a day to not feel dizzy, to not feel lightheaded, to not feel out of breath.
Wow.
It can be tough. I mean, it's 11,500 feet. Like, let me see, just for reference, where I live. I'll tell you what the elevation is, what I walk around feeling. So my elevation here is 950 feet.
Whoa, so
So
you're going up to 11,000.
11,500. Yeah. So, yeah,
It affects
huge elevation change.
pretty differently, and I think, yeah, everyone's going to have their own physical fitness and their own age, and yeah, I've had very big difference. Some people are going, "Oh, it was fine." Other people saying, "I have to have medication and I have to do it a few days before I arrive to get your body
Mm,
prepped."
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I would
Well,
err on the side of caution if you're gonna go
yeah,
for
yeah,
the first
yeah.
time.
Well, in a couple years before we do Raiders in Egypt, we'll have a whole episode where we just prep everybody on
The
going
prepping
to.
episode.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
People need to prep for Egypt as well. I warn everybody that goes there, and I'm like, Egypt, it's not like the Nile cruise. It's not that it's Egypt can be luxury, but if you're going to like kind of treasure hunt and ancient history hunt like we do, you're getting up early every day. It's
Mhm.
like temple, next
Yeah.
temple, sandstorm, and it's everybody gets ill. The stamina you need for it, yeah, is insane.
So Lauren didn't realize, when she travels with her family,
Mm.
so in a couple weeks we're going to go to Cabo, and this is going to be my first trip in, I don't know, 15 years where I'm just relaxing on the trip.
You're not gonna know what to do.
I'm not gonna know what to do. I've never been. I don't think I've ever been on a vacation where I'm just there to relax. Like every time I go somewhere, it's not necessarily that I'm. When you're doing tours, you're working. Like that it's
Yeah.
work. You're making sure that you spend time with everybody and you're there to be totally present with each person who's talking to you. And it's a lot of work physically and mentally. And Lauren wasn't expecting it to be like that. There have been some times where what else she'll say? She'll say something. She's like, and you get to go off on your vacations. And I'm like, hold on.
They're not
You'll
vacation.
They're not vacations. Like I'm so happy to be there, but I am working while I'm
Oh,
there.
yeah.
It's hard work. And so she finally understood what it was like. And because we're even in Peru, there's so many, well, yeah, I mean, you're not getting up after 7 a.m. You're up at 6 a.m. every morning.
Yeah. You're up
You're up at 5 or 4 a.m. every morning. And sometimes,
oh,
yeah. I think the earliest we get up was 4 a.m. And it's like that all the time. And the purpose of it is to maximize the most out of your day and make it feel like you've been there a really long time. And at the end of the tour, everyone was ready to go home. And that's
yeah,
kind of the way
everyone's
you want it to be. You don't want to leave. You don't want people to leave feeling like, oh, I wish I could stay longer. You want people feeling like, man, I feel like I've been here for forever. I'm ready to go home.
Mhm.
So it's a lot packed into 1 week. And when you're in Egypt, hey, sometimes it's 2.5 weeks straight.
Yeah.
There's no off days. So it's just wait.
It's a bit like a kind of Squid Game scenario where a certain number of people start on the tour and always we have numbers dropping off all the way through. Just because people get ill, they get exhausted, they get injured. It's like,
At the beginning of Raiders in Egypt, we should be like, everybody, look to the person to your right, look to the person to your left. There's a good likelihood that one of them won't be here at the end of the
there. May the best man win, last one standing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, you really got to prep when you go on these things. You got to drink a lot of water. If you need medication, you should take it beforehand. Like it's a full on, you're really out here doing it. And, you know, this isn't just a vacation. It's like a full on expedition adventure trip, you know? So,
Very cool.
yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
very cool.
Well, with that said, do we have any show updates for the folks watching at home?
Well, we are, because you were recently on Rogan and it kicked our butts into organization, and we're getting our Spotify sorted. So I went through and we're uploading and organizing properly all of the Raiders of the Past podcasts, because we do it live on YouTube, and because we don't design the show, like we don't produce it for audio, really. It's a live YouTube thing, but I've been editing it down, cutting out some of the time sensitive stuff and just basically getting into all the juicy adventure stuff that we talk about and the mysteries. And yeah, we're uploading. So we are officially like properly going on to Spotify. So the plan is by the end of the year, you'll have everything in order and you'll be able to just like follow us and flick through on Spotify, because Spotify is really good now. You can watch videos as well. So we're going to pull all of the videos, because we're quite a visual podcast as well. We pull up things and imagery, and we chat about a lot of things we bring to the table. So yeah, we're going to be doing that, and yeah, just get the merch out there.
Yeah, well, I started cracking down on the merch now that everything's kind of slowing down for this summer. I'm not going to be all over the place. And so I started working on designing some merch, getting this whole thing figuring out who we're going to work with. I got some really cool ideas. Johanna and I were both in agreement that we kind of like, what term did you use? Understated merch?
Yeah, it's kind of what did I say? I like merch that it isn't so obvious and logoed, and it kind of has a duality to it. So like if you know, if you're in, you're in. If you know the joke, if you get the joke, then cool. If not, then it's also just a standalone cool t-shirt, hoodie, interesting design. So something that doubles up as a bit of both, something with a bit of fun. Just not just like our faces and names, something that's really fun.
Yeah. I don't care, and Johanna's probably the same. I don't care for somebody to be walking around with my name on them. It's weird.
Like, it's a bit cringy.
It's not gonna have the podcast logo on it or anything like that. It's gonna be, if you saw someone wearing it and you're familiar with the show, you would know what you're looking at. Yeah. Otherwise, you would have no idea where this is coming from. It's just something
literally
cool.
designing it for the Raiders, for everyone out there who wants to be part of the team and part of the adventure, and it's like kind of our kit, and that'll be fun.
Exactly. Other thing is, we got to start cracking down on getting our guests on the show. We have a few people waiting in the wings that want to come on, which I'm excited about. I won't name names yet, but we're definitely going to get that. And then Johanna and I, at some point, we got to get together and be like, okay, here's the show schedule, when we'll go on, and put it out there so that you guys will know when to expect us. This is not like a weekly thing. So
we tend to do Mondays, and we tend to do, we just grab, at the moment it's been, there's been lots going on, but we tend to do Mondays live on YouTube.
Yep. So yeah, I can't wait to finally start approaching this professionally now. We've been at it for just over a year. Oh, I'm going to miss you this weekend, by the way. We got Cosmic Summit coming up.
I know. And I wanted to shout out Cosmic because I'm going to be, I have a wedding on Saturday, but either side of that, I'm going to be on the live stream, and I'll be like with everybody on the live stream. And just to remind everybody, if you can't go to Cosmic, you can go and get a live stream. I think it's like $50, but there's loads of promo code. Everyone's got a promo code for some money off, so it's even cheaper than that. And you get everything. You get the whole show downloadable. You can watch it live or download it, because I'm gonna watch the Saturday show later, and you get to download it, keep it forever. That's yours, and you get, I think, is it like 20 lectures?
Yeah,
for 50 less than $50. So yeah, really, really cool. And especially as in this climate with economy and how expensive it is to put everything on, it's, you never know if this is the last Cosmic. So go and get a bit of history. And if you haven't, grab your passes, because if you you can save it to the last minute, but I tell you what it does do, if you buy it a few days earlier, it helps the it helps all the show promoters be able to, you know, do their accounts and stuff, because they can get a good gauge for how many people are going to be in the live audience. And
yeah.
Yep,
I'm pretty excited. I'm not speaking this year, but you know, Cosmic Summit, I'll say, is at least near my hometown where I just moved to, and so
yeah, you have the easiest journey.
yeah, I have the easiest journey of literally anybody going to Cosmic Summit.
Yeah, great.
So I'm excited. I got a few buddies who are flying in and staying at our new place, and yeah, it's gonna be a fun weekend. I'm looking forward to, you know, watching some of our friends present. I don't know everybody presenting.
Yeah, there's
but
like
I'm looking
new
forward.
people. I'm so excited to see. I'm interested in almost everyone that's speaking. So I'm gonna have so much homework to do. But then yeah, I'm excited
Yeah,
for it.
I'm excited. The other thing I'm very excited for is Johanna and I are finally going to collab on a video. Can you believe after all this time, you and I never made a video together?
Yeah, that we've both super interested in we fall down rabbit holes and be like, look, I'm really interested in this right now because this is what I'm studying, and we both happen to fall down the same rabbit hole. And I was like, well, I want to make a video. Let's make a dual video. So we're gonna pop up on each other's channels.
Yeah. I think that'd be. Oh yeah, that we could do that. That would be really fun. And then in the future, when you get settled in your new chapter of life, I need to come to the UK, and we need to do something. We need to do something at like the Dolmen sites or the other, you know, the megaliths around Scotland or something like that.
The other day on Saturday, I went to visit my grandparents. They live down in Devon, which is like the West Country. But to get the road that goes from London to Devon, you go straight past Stonehenge. So I went past Stonehenge like twice. It's right there next, like the highway, and Stonehenge is like 200 feet.
Yeah. We gotta do something in person, you know, some kind of adventure video or something.
Yeah. When you guys come visit us, we can do. I mean, even from London, it's like within 2 hours of London, you've got a lot of henges, and yeah.
Well, that's the thing. There's so much out there that people don't realize. Like, there's stuff all over Scotland and Ireland too. You know, and people don't realize it's all the same culture. Like, you have England and Scotland, but really in ancient times, it was just the same people.
And I was thinking, because they found out that the center stone of Stonehenge is from Scotland, and also, like the stone circles and the henges, but like way at the top. I've never visited the henges in Scotland. I've visited the Highlands, which is actually at the lower end of Scotland, but the tiny little islands that are up off the top, like heading into the North Sea and in Norway, it's all the same. Like, I was like, what is this culture? And
it's cool, right? So we'll have to do something on it. But yeah, guys. So that's pretty much it for today. We just want to do a little chat, Peru recap, Rogan recap, touch base with you guys. Johanna and I are going to settle in and start becoming professional podcasters. So soon we'll be on like a regular schedule, and we'll, if not a regular schedule, it will be posted, and you will be able to know when the live times are going to be. So yeah. So,
but thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And we'll be talking soon. And also, we still have to come up with an outro.
We do. Maybe we could have like a competition, and we're going to like get people to vote on our, like, what our outro slogan should be.
Oh, that's right. Okay. If you guys have good ideas, leave them not in the live chat, but in the comment section below. And we're going to start sifting through them. We've got to come up with something iconic to say.
Yeah. Cause I can't just, it's just nicking stuff from. Yeah. Don't forget to bring snacks and drinks for next time. Yeah, everyone should bring snacks and drinks. Obviously, it's a live podcast.
So, all right, everybody. Over and out. We'll be talking again very soon.